Hey everybody, it's Booray here from Tampa, Florida, and today I want to talk about the Zhiyun M20C. The C version of this light is the one that comes with accessories. They make the M20, but the M20C comes with the accessories, and I personally believe that the accessories are what this light is all about. So that's what we're going to talk about. First of all, let me talk a little bit about my channel. If you're coming here expecting an in-depth breakdown of every single feature in this light, this is not the channel for you. There are plenty of channels out there that are going to go through every single feature of this light for you. In fact, you can go to Zhiyun's website and find everything there that you need to know about everything that exists in this light and every feature and everything that it does. My channel is always more about what can I do with a light? What can I do with a camera? What can this thing do for me? So I'm going to touch on some of the features of this light, but I am not the person to get every single detail that you need. So here are some of the things that are great about this light. First of all, it should have about a 40-minute battery runtime at full power. It's got a built-in fan, which is very cool because you usually don't see those on lights this size. It's got Bluetooth connectivity to an app on your phone, so you can control this light as well as a whole bank of these lights with your phone. It has a CCT mode, a white balance. It has a white balance mode. Okay, you can adjust the white balance, the color balance, and the intensity. This is usually called like a bicolor mode because it just works with two colors to get your white balance right. But it also has an RGB mode. See the RGB on there? Which means that you can adjust your red, your green, and your blue to make this any color in the spectrum. What is it, 14,000 colors? Is it more than that? Go down in the comments and correct me. Somebody, all right, camera nerds, you know, how many colors can you make with RGB? It's 14 something. 14 million? Is it 14 million? All right, tell me down in the comments. It also has an HSI mode, which is hue, saturation, and intensity. It has a music mode, so it will pulse with music. It has several FX modes, like it'll flicker like a candle. So if you're doing videography, this is a light that can be used for a lot of little effects within your scene. You know, if you've got something that's red back here and you want to have a little cast of light hitting your subject, and you put this to red, you match it to the light, you have it hit the person, and now it just gives mood and everything to your scene. But I am not a videographer. I am a photographer. I'm a photographer who happens to use constant lighting for his studio. I recently converted to all constant lighting in my studio. Hang on just a second. And as a result, I am a Zhiyun guy. I use Zhiyun lights. I use the Zhiyun G200 as my main light for my headshots in my studio. I use the X100 to light my background, or if I need a kicker light, I also use an X100. I use the G60s to light these videos. I've got two of them on either side of me right now, bouncing into the wall in front of me. That's providing this nice, great, flat, even light for my videos. I have the M40, which they sent me, and I haven't really found a use for yet. But if I was shooting videography at an event like a wedding or a bar mitzvah, I would absolutely mount this on my camera because it's bright, plenty bright at 40 watts to give you all the light that you need. And now I have this one, the M20. So when they sent me this light, or when they offered to send me this light, I initially was like, I don't know. Because one of the things that I don't like to do is I don't like to make videos about things just because someone's giving them to me for free, right? You start off, you get a channel, and you're like, oh, free stuff, and then eventually you're like, it's no fun making videos about stuff that I'm not really excited about, you know. And all this free stuff, it just goes in a box somewhere. So I went back to him and I said, you know, I've got a light. Godox makes a little light like this, and I've got this one, right? And I've used this one. And it was never really bright enough for me for what I wanted to do, so I don't really use it much anymore. So I thought, you know, that M20, it's about the same size. It's not going to be bright enough. And I said, but you know, you guys have never let me down. Every light you've ever sent me has always been so incredible. So go ahead and send one to me, and let's see if you can surprise me. And well, they did. They absolutely surprised me. I'm excited to make this video because this light, first of all, brighter than this light. I didn't test them on a meter, but I would suggest probably 50%. I put them side by side and looked at them, and I would say that this light is probably twice as bright as this light. It's certainly bright enough, as I'm going to show you in a few minutes, to do some really cool stuff with it. But the main thing that makes this light so attractive, besides the wonderful designs that Zhiyun uses for their lights, is the accessory kit that comes with it. So let's talk about the accessory kit. This is the cage that comes with the light. The light just drops in right here, and then this closes and snaps. Look at that nice metal screw. This is magnetized, so you can stick it to something that's metal. Now, to be clear, this is magnetized too, but you don't want to try and stick this to something. I tried. It don't stay. It falls. This, on the other hand, this will stay. This is heavy-duty metal, hard metal, and this will stay if you stick it to something that's metal, that's big enough for it to stick to. It certainly will stick to a refrigerator, but a big pole, something like that too. Now, it's got plenty of mounts on it. It's got the cold shoe mount here and a screw if you want to mount it to a tripod or a selfie stick or something like that. It's got another mount on each of the three sides. So if you want to put a microphone on there or another light on there, you can actually take these and hook them together, make a bank of them if you want to. So it's got wonderful mounts, but here's where it really gets cool. It's got magnets on the front. So it comes with a diffuser, right? It ain't coming off. It ain't coming off. Here's how I know it's not coming off. Watch me take it off. Okay, there it is. This one is actually kind of hard to get off because it's so streamlined and small. Once it's on there, it's hard to get off. Now, I haven't used this because it cuts down the light quite a bit, and this is already opaque to begin with. So you really don't, I don't think you really need this diffuser too much. Maybe a videographer, or maybe down the line I'll use it, but this is, for my purposes, this is enough of a diffusion, so I haven't really used this. A grid, a honeycomb grid, right? So a great honeycomb grid for it. And the piece de resistance, barn doors. Barn doors, that's right. They're even numbered so that you know which barn doors to open, when you're closing it up, which order to do it in, which is just a cool little touch. Barn doors, like a real old school, golden age of cinema light. And everything is stackable. So, for example, if you're like, you know what, I want the diffuser, and I want the grid, and I want the barn doors. Okay, you got it. Got them all now. Isn't that great? By the way, before we go any further, a little self-promotion, as I always do in my videos. Be sure and go to my website, boorayperry.com. There's a link in the description. And if you go there, it's really hard to get, the magnet is so strong, it's really hard to get this off. If you go to my website, boorayperry.com, be sure and check out all my links to all my gear, because if you click one of those links and you buy something from Amazon, I get a couple of dollars, and it helps me to keep this channel alive, because I should be working right now. And instead, I'm making this video. Also, you will find on there a couple of my free ebooks that are available, absolutely free to download, and my great extensive ebook on how to work with natural light photography. If you look in the description, there's a code that will get you 50% off on that ebook. You will not regret it. I spent a lot of work into that book, and I'm very, very proud of it. So be sure and check that out as well. Also, join my group, Pro Photo Talk, which is on Facebook. Also follow me on Instagram and on Threads. And I think that's it for self-promotion. So this light, it does all kinds of stuff. It's got all of these great features. It's got all these great magnetic accessories, and here's the best part, it's $169. $169, y'all. $169. That's an unbelievable price for this light and all these accessories. I really, really am just blown away by that. But let's talk about what we can do with the light, because that's what I really like to do. I like to talk about the photography side of it. So a couple of years ago, I went to Imaging USA, which is the giant conference that Professional Photographers of America puts on every single year. And while I was there, I decided to have a little project. So I took this light and I took a reflector and I took pictures of photographers with my Fuji X100V, and I used this light in the reflector. But I quickly found that it really wasn't bright enough. I found myself, I couldn't really reflect it bouncing like this, which was what I wanted, like a clamshell. I ended up having to put the light more in front of people. I did a video about it. It's on my channel. I was happy with the whole experience. It's always fun to challenge yourself to something new. But I thought, if I had a brighter light, also if I had a way to control the light more, I could do something that was a little more nuanced or have a little more mood to it. Well, here comes the Zhiyun, right? The M20 with the barn doors and the grid. So now I'm thinking, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to Imaging USA again because I'm hosting the International Photographic Competition. By the way, if you go to Imaging USA, if you don't, you need to. Even if you're a hobbyist, it's unbelievable. 10,000 photographers, a giant trade show, all the major brands are there. It's great. Plus lots of education from your fellow photographers. I've spoken there many times. So if you like what you see on my channel here, you're going to see a whole lot of it at Imaging USA. It's in Louisville, Kentucky this year, so there's bourbon. Just go to ppa.com. You can find all the details. They do it every single year. So if you see me this year, be sure and come up and say hello, because there's nothing I love more than meeting people who watch my channel or listen to my podcast. So I'm thinking this year I might just take the Zhiyun light with me, maybe no reflector, and try this experiment again, except this time I can get a tighter beam and I can maybe do something a little more cinematic, like old school cinematic. So I wanted to test it and see if it was going to work. So I went into my studio and I set up the Zhiyun on accessories that come from Zhiyun. These don't come with the light, but I've gotten these with another light. And this is another great thing about Zhiyun. Like, don't you just love how streamlined and cool these are? Right? So this is a selfie stick. These things are always a little tricky to close. There it is. I turned it the wrong way. There you go. This is a selfie stick, and this is tripod legs. So you can just take this, screw it to this, set it on a table, right? That locks it. That closes it. All right, there we go. Smooth. So I love everything they do. They really put so much work into the design side of it. If you're a nerd like me, the way things look, is important. So I thought, okay, let's go in the studio and find out what we can do with this light. So let's take a look at what I did in the studio. So I put the light on the stand. I put the stand about, 2.5 feet from my face on a table. And I started taking pictures. Now this is no modifiers at all. This is just the light in the cage. You need the cage to mount it, but you wouldn't have to have the cage if someone was holding it. And so this is just a light bare on my face. And this is probably 50% power. It's a very powerful light. So this is just the bare light on my face, and I'm happy with this. This is pretty good light. I'm at ISO 500, right, f2.8, so I didn't have to go way up into like 3200 ISO in order to get a good exposure. In fact, this is actually brighter than you think it is. If you look here, over here, I'm pretty sure I turned this down. Yeah, see, my exposure's down. Here's the actual original picture. This is how bright it was. So I had to turn it down. There you go. So there's plenty of light here. This is a stop and a half, stop and a third. So there's plenty of light here. So if you look at the background, though, you can see the background's catching light, too, because it's going to throw a really wide throw. Now, put the grid on next. Boom. Look at the darkness here. So normally, I would have to go in and do this in Capture One or Photoshop. I would have to go down and bring down the background in order to get the background to be darker if I just wanted to highlight the face. But because I've got a grid on, now all the light is coming straight into my face, and it's not spilling to the background as much. Now, watch what happens when I put the barn doors on. I put the barn doors on and I closed them down to give me a really tight beam, and I got this. Now look at my shirt. See the detail? See how you can see the detail in my shirt? See off my shoulder? See the white here? And then boom. Now it's black. A little bit of detail back here. That's good. We want separation. But now you're really looking at a tight beam on my face. Now, the beauty of this is that you could get like a flashlight with a tight beam and you could do this as well, but then you wouldn't be able to get a really wide throw if that's what you wanted to do. The versatility of having the honeycomb grid and the barn doors in your bag if you need them really makes this a very versatile light to have on location. And I'm happy with this. I cleaned one up too. Where's my cleanup? Let me go here and output location. So here you go. This is that image cleaned up, and by cleaned up I mean I made my face look a little bit better. To make my face look a bit better. But this is an interesting look, right? This is something you can do something with. This is something where you can go, you know what? I'm gonna do a series of pictures like this where I'm gonna go around and use this light, and all I need is this light and my Fuji X100V, for example, or anything really. So I was just really blown away by the versatility of this light. Now, make no mistake about it, a versatile light is great, but if it's not powerful enough, it really doesn't matter. So let me crank it up for you so you can see how bright it is. Although, unfortunately, the camera here is going to adjust for the light. So this is at 100%, right? And look at the back wall. See the wall there? See how much light I'm getting on it? And that's a ways off. This is 100%. And, you know, throw the grid on it. You can narrow it in. Throw the barn doors on it. You can narrow it in even more. Really bring it in to where it's just on my face and it's not going anywhere else. It's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful system. Hang on. These are numbers, so you close them in the right order. There you go. Oh. Don't close the barn doors with the light on, because the camera, if it overheats, it'll shut down. I learned that the fun way. It will shut down. It should have about, I think I mentioned this already, it should have about a 40-minute runtime at full power, which is plenty of time for just about anything that you want to do, unless you're shooting a really long video. But you can plug it in and run it off of power as well, or run it off of a power bank. So that's it. The Zhiyun M20C. My score is, man, I can't think of a light that's this size that you're going to get more versatility out of, that you're going to be able to do more stuff with, and certainly not at this price. So if you are a videographer, you should definitely look into this light for your work. And if you are a photographer and you're thinking about using constant lighting, I think that this is a good place to start, because it's enough light that you can do some portrait work with it, but it's not unbelievably expensive or big or bulky to carry around. So it's just something that's just right to get you into the porridge. You know, it's just right, not too hot, not too cold. Anyway, check it out. Be sure and use the link below in the description and on my website as well. And thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.